And so next, we are going to have a fantastic discussion, direct to consumer, changing business models in finance with another rock star panel of amazing people. We are going to have Nishant Fafalia, who is CEO at Advanzia Bank, Samuele Pinta, who is co-founder and CEO at Satispay Europe. We have Josy Soussan, Global Policy and Government Relations at Klarna, Benjamin Fossaert, VP of Finance at INFNIT, in a conversation moderated by the fantastic Thibault de Barsy, Vice Chairman and General Manager at the Payments Association EU. Please give them a huge round of applause to welcome them out on our stage. Gentlemen, come on out. Huge round of applause to bring them on out. That would be great. Gentlemen, a whoop is good. We can whoop. And there you are.
Ladies and gentlemen, you were very right attending this session because this is going to be the highlight of the day. Your best moment of the morning, I promise you. Yes, 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 I see we have enthusiastic listeners in the room. So ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to talk about new business models in finance, and we have a fantastic panel for you. You were just introduced with the name and functions of our guests, but I will just ask them one little more thing. So Benjamin, since when are you in your current position?
I have been working at INFNIT for 2 years, and I've made all my career in Luxembourg. So I'm a pure product of Luxembourg, worked in financial services all my career, but I'm also the example that beyond investment funds and banking, there is opportunities in startups and fintech.
Bravo, bravo. Samuele, you founded the company, right? So how long ago was that?
It's now 11 years. So
congratulations.
Yeah, 11 years in fintech, here in Luxembourg since 2008, leading all the regulatory efforts for our company. I'm trying to bridge the gaps between regulatory, tech, and product, which for a fintech company is like
and I'm sure
what we have to do.
I'm sure you do that very well. Josy, turning to you. You came from Paris this morning, but tell us a bit more about you.
Thank you. No, I've been at Klarna for 4 years now. I've been in finance and tech policy for about 15 years now. So I think a pure product of Europe. You know, Brussels, Netherlands, France, UK, etc.
That's what we like to hear, Josy. Very good. Nishant, what about you? For how long are you CEO of Advanzia?
I've been there for 2 years operationally. I was on the board for 6-7 years before that. Background is mainly from investments, chairman, board member, operationally involved in fintechs, tech companies, consumer type of banks. That's really it.
Nishant, we stay with you because the first question goes to you. So some people are familiar with Advanzia, some don't. So we are talking about business models today. So tell us a bit more about the core of the business model proposed by Advanzia. What do you offer to the banks, to the partners of your company? And especially as you are over several European countries, that's my personal question, how do you measure your performance in terms of revenues, penetration across the different European countries that you cover?
Thanks, Thibault. That's a very broad question. I have a clock ticking there, but where should I start?
I'm watching you.
The core of the model, however you slice and dice it, is that it comes down to data. Data. We are a payments company in terms of the card schemes, but also a credit company. The payment is the enabler, and the credit is the driver of the business. And the way we think about it is that we need to be able to have as much data as possible to be able to give out that credit. So we have 3 million clients. An average credit will be 2,000 euros, credit limit of 5,000 up to 10,000. And we have roughly 3 million applications per year, where we bring on 500,000 new active clients every year. So I need data, and that changes over the lifetime. So in the beginning, I have the data that I get from the customer. I have a central bureaus in the country, but we also buy data in Germany, for example, down a street level. And with that, we're able to understand how creditworthy the customer is and decide the credit limit. And that's the key on the majority of the business. If you look at the big brands, as you mentioned, Turkish Airlines, Hilton, Miles & More, etc., it's a bit different. And the private banks, there we need to package the product differently. On your other question, when it comes to drivers, internally, we look at unit economics, lifetime value. How everything we do, how does that impact? How is different from the different countries? Everything we do, how does that affect that? And on the other side, bringing in so much clients, we spend 60 million euros a year on marketing, and that's the customer acquisition cost. And how do we make a return?
Excellent, thank you so much. Samuele, I'm turning to you. Satispay is a very popular app in Italy, in Luxembourg. But tell me, how innovative was your business model when you started? How truly innovative is it today? And how do you measure the success of Satispay?
Well, I would take the question from two angles. The first one is more behind the scene. When we started Satispay, we wanted to create something totally independent for the card scheme. And today, 2025, everybody is talking about we should be independent for one reason or another. We have talking about digital euro, other initiatives, and so on. Actually, we did it. And we have today 5 million customers. And this brought us in developing like a completely new infrastructure. There's a new cost structure, revenue structure, and we started building things on top of this new way, new paradigm. So that's the first angle. The second one is more, let's say, consumer-oriented. What we have in mind at Satispay is to build an habit. And the habit should be, you don't even realize, but you are using Satispay every day. Because you are paying for the breakfast, you are paying your fine because of speeding, you're splitting the dinner, you are using the welfare that your employer is giving you. And all of a sudden you realize that Satispay is opened every day, multiple times. And this is actually our measure of success. Is let's say frequency, if we want to,
of usage.
Yeah, but let's build the habit. I like to use this kind of wording to really explain what we would like to do.
And I guess the frequency at which different functions are used within the application, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Very good. I'm coming back to you, Samuele. Josy, Klarna is one of the most famous fintech in Europe. Congratulations about that. You traveled from Paris this morning. So I want to ask you, because of course, everyone knows what Klarna is offering, but what is the common driver between the products and the services that Klarna is offering?
Thanks, Thibault. And I think to answer directly that question, it's really that obsession of getting a customer-centric lens and continuing to provide competition in the financial space, right? Like for those that may be less familiar with Klarna, we're a global digital bank and a flexible payments provider. We serve over 100 million consumers across 26 markets globally, and we have we're a fully regulated bank. But the reason for that traction is, what do consumers actually want? And that's a lot more choice in finance, right? I think one of the problems we have in Europe is the lack of mobility. I mean, we've all enjoyed the fact that in the telecom or in the energy sector, there are lots of new entrants, and so you can easily switch, and then it brings prices down. I think in banking, over 30% of Europeans, they don't switch banks. So how do we unlock that competition? And how do we do it through a consumer-centric lens? And we started off by redesigning credit. What does healthy credit look like? How do people use it? It's short term, it's interest free, it's easily manageable through the Klarna app, and it's about the flexibility to use the payment option depending on the purchase that you're making. And then we applied that same logic to our other banking products, so the saving, deposits, and investments. So, remember back in the days, you would swipe your credit card at a payment terminal, you get that option, press 1 if you want debit, press 2 if you want credit. And I think nowadays, mostly when you swipe that credit card, it goes straight to credit, even if you don't need it,
Correct.
right? And so we launched the Klarna card, which is a physical card, which is a flexible debit card, which give back that choice and that control to consumers so that they can choose whatever option, whatever banking feature they need. And so it's really about redesigning and rethinking the retail banking space.
Very good. I will come back to that as well, because I have many add-on questions for you, Josy. Benjamin. So, Benjamin, you are in a slightly different business model because your target groups are the SMEs, but the SMEs from all around the world, right? So how did you decide to focus on this specific segment, but on a global scale? That's very unique.
Sure. So first, I wish it was all around the world. For now, we are focusing mainly on the EU. And then in why we decided to target SMEs. I think that this panel is showing it, right? The banking sector is very crowded today, right? And it has been very well addressed by multiple players. Nevertheless, once we have said that, there is still, I would say, a large category of people that are underserved. I mean, we opened the company 2 years ago. In some countries, to open a bank account, it takes a year. And I'm talking about countries within the EU, right? So it's like very regulated.
Yeah.
And so the way we thought to that is like, we are not going to compete with traditional bank. We are not competing with neobank. And therefore, our approach is we focus on the underserved, and we focus, so what we provide is vertical banking to some type of very specific categories. And within those categories, we target SMBs because they are underserved. And what we are looking is not addressing the whole market of these categories, but really the SMBs that have high potential and that are lacking of financial services to grow. And our solution will bring them financial services that are tailor-made for their real needs, but also business tools to take better decisions on the day-to-day.
Very good. That sounds very clear, Benjamin. Congrats. Josy, I'm back to you because everyone knows Klarna is from Sweden, which of course is a country that has unique characteristics, Nordic, Protestant, one of the most evolved states in the world. But you became first a Swedish champion, then a European champion, then a global champion, which means also that the business model in terms of, I guess, credit assessments, risks, penetration has to adapt to be popular on a global scale, or on the contrary, you have to find the best fit for everyone?
I think, as you said, I think that Klarna is a great example of a company that becomes a global company that's winning in the US, but it's still very committed to its European roots and its European history. We've been around for 20 years in Stockholm, and now available globally. I think part of the success again is having that clear roadmap of how do we bring more choice and more competition. To your question, there is adaptation needed because local laws and local regulation, etc. But at the end of the day, you want to have the same offering everywhere for everyone. Now that's easier said than done, and regulation I think plays a big role in there. And I think the question is, how do we make sure that we create more and more of these champions in Europe, right? There's a lot of talk about simplification efforts, or some people call it deregulation.
Yes.
And I think it's important that we cut some unnecessary red tape. But I think more importantly is harmonization of rules. If you want to be serving...
Within Europe, you mean?
Within Europe, to start off with. If it's global, it's even better. But let's already fix 27 member states, which isn't easy. And I think if you want to be that player that offers everything, the same things to the same people across the union, you need to have harmonized rules to offer that cross-border. And let's be honest, not always bad. If you take banking license or PSP license, those are harmonized regimes which allow people to go, and there are a lot of...
But I guess what's not harmonized is, for example, the consumer protection laws, which are specific to every country. And so even if you have a payment regulation which is harmonized, you have many local things that will prevent you to just copy-paste from one to the other, right?
Absolutely. There are fiscal laws, there are tax laws, there is scheme and share option incentives, and all these things that are really different from one market to another. You still have IBAN discrimination. You still have, poor APIs that makes it very hard to have open banking and open finance. So there's still a lot of things that are fragmented and it needs to be solved. I think the second thing as well is you need to have lots of great entrepreneurs, but I don't think that's a problem. If you just walk around here, you see all the great minds that walk around. I think there's also the element of mobilizing retail capital, retail investment. How do we get more retail investors as well to invest in those companies? And that goes again to tax schemes and fiscal rules that need to be harmonized. And finally, we need to have rules that strike a balance between protecting consumers, because that's key, but also allowing those companies to innovate. And I think that's a very thin, balance. There's on the one hand, there's the team of you need very prescriptive rules and you need to do exactly this, and then it becomes a tick-the-box exercise. But there's also some great examples of, outcomes-based, of you have this objective that we need to meet, but then companies can continue to innovate and can be, free and do so. And if we have that right mix, then I'm sure, we'll get more and more of these champions in Europe.
And then maybe a little add-on beyond the legal, regulatory, and technological aspects. What about the cultural aspects? Because I guess the aversion to credit or the ease you have with potentially missing your credit payment. I guess that's very different from north to south of Europe, for example, right?
Absolutely, and I think it's you know, it's I wanted to say conceptual discussion as well. Like, is credit good? Is credit bad? I think there are definitely instances where, you know, these one-off, unexpected purchases you want to make, they make more sense if you split them in your manageable installments. Some countries, like maybe more of the northern countries, they would consider that you have to pay with money that you have. So it goes back again to what I said at the beginning, which it's not about using this or that. It's about offering that flexibility and that option, and that when you swipe your card, you're not directly being put into one bucket, but you have that choice of choosing what's best for you.
Exactly, that's super interesting. And I think it's also a common point we have with some of our guests here. So Samuele, you started with payments as well, but today Satispay is also offering an investment product within the app, right? So you can invest in savings. And we all know that it's a similar, I mean, other applications are offering also cross-products, cross-selling other financial products within their app. So what for you will be the true killer feature that will ultimately sway consumer choice in your favor?
Well, you're right. The market is pretty crowded, but we believe that it's crowded like in the wrong way. Look, when you add, at least in Satispay, when you add like a new value-added service, it's not just adding like a tab on your app. The goal is to really rethink what you are offering and try to make it better for the consumer. And I believe that in the investment service, there's a whole industry, and maybe I'm gonna piss off someone here like at the conference. I think there's something fundamentally broken. I mean, now the way industry is pushing you, consumers, citizens, to invest is by also pushing things like churn and upsell and so on, because they make money every time there's a transaction. And they create also this sense of pressure. And what we want to do is to transform pressure to education. So the ultimate goal is for you as a client to be able to build wealth over time, to know what you're doing, to control it, yes, and to have easy access to that. And so it's not maybe a killer feature. This is, for us, is the killer way to take it and to bring it to the next level. So bring back control to consumer. They need to know what they are doing. And maybe this is going to be on the P&L side, maybe more attractive in the short term for the industry. Yes. But in long term, you build trust. And the client that is investing today through Satispay, I would like to have the same client keep investing in 20, 30 years within Satispay, because we build this trust over time. And his parents, his friends, and so on, everybody is on it because he understood actually something that is actually new for them. Yes. So the lack of education, especially in some countries in Europe, is something that we should really tackle, and is something that we really want to be like on top of it. And
Samuele, you chose Italy as the first market where you introduced this new feature. Any special reason?
I mean, we are Italian, so we know our chicken. Yeah, I know. Sorry for that. But all those problems that I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure there are to some extent also present in some country. Then there's 27 countries. Every country has its own story and differences. But these things that I just told you is very representative of the Italian market.
Very good.
And excellent. I know that because my grandparents, my parents, I mean, I lived that for years. And now I'm lucky enough to understand that this could change, and we would like really to tell to the people that this could change.
Excellent. Nishant, Advanzia is one of the most efficient issuer in Europe, right? You guys have fantastic results financially. You are a highly profitable company. So I want to ask, what's next for you? And as we discussed BNPL, is this a potential next step for the next years?
Before that, I just want to go back on this cultural differences.
Yes, yes,
we
yes.
don't
It's one of
succeed
my
with
favorite
everything,
topics,
but,
Nishant. Yeah, go ahead.
a long story, but very short. We failed heavily in the early days of entering France, and the mistake we did, we underestimated a cultural difference.
I
and
see.
then we failed later on as well, but that was due to another reason. So that should never be underestimated. Back to your question. We have the last few years stepped up our CapEx levels for new technology for
Right.
implementing that technology heavily. So we spend around 15 million euros a year only on that. That doesn't include internal cost. It doesn't include the big jump we've done in number of engineers, but just for that outside piece. And that we do because we want to focus on customer experience and bring that to the level which is the best possible in our case. We want to do it for our own efficiency, and we want to minimize really the time to market, where we are sometimes slow and want to just be very, very much quicker. If it's new functionalities, if it's new self-service, if it is, I mean, whatever it could be, even the value-added services, which is a focus area in itself. And a few examples of that is that we have launched a totally new enrollment process with AI on the KIC side, which automates it fully. We have totally new front end since 2 months back, which we developed on our own and owned IP, so we fully control it. So that would be a few examples. And then I will go back to the data point.
Yes, yes, yes.
And there I would have 2 examples as well, where we, as an organization, fully focus on that. We have, for example, since only 2 weeks ago, after a year of struggle, finally gone live in production with an AI-based customer lifecycle platform. So this enables us to segment the customers in a way that we can never do before automated. I usually say as a joke that we know when a person becomes pregnant before he or she tells his family. And with that, we can use triggers, automated triggers to launch campaigns, churn, preventive actions, activation rates, et cetera, and extremely efficient. And we're just in the early days, but the early signs are very, very good. In addition, we chose as a team to scrap our own data platform, take on the project to implement a new, which will be done by the end of the year, which are best, we believe, are state of the art. Heavy investments, but it will also add the AI layer on top, which we are missing a bit. And that we look heavily forward to. Sure. And then the big picture, you mentioned the efficient credit card issuer. Yeah, we believe we are. We believe in focus. Focus on one thing and try to become best on that. We have 3 million clients again, 600 million roughly in revenue and 150 million in bottom line. So we're on a level where we feel we can take the next big step. So that's under evaluation. We have 5 various things we're looking on, of course, from an offering point of view as well, but the product side is included. BNPL is one of them. I wouldn't say it's the core one, but it could be a small part of our offering, depending on which avenue we go on the total offering side. So that's the future.
You might take the credit risk as well within a BNPL model?
That we'll probably do. Because
you're very good at estimating it in your current business, obviously.
And where we invest heavily is, of course, in the origination team, now in the lifecycle team, the IT side in general, the origination, but the data engineers, the data crunchers, as I call them, I mean, that's where we invest heavily. And we will take the credit risk on our own books because we believe that a lot of the profit is made there, or a lot of the value add.
Very good. So you mentioned that you had to correct your approach of the French market. So how many markets are you present in today, Nishant?
We're currently in
France?
5. Germany,
right?
Austria, France, Italy, and Spain. But France, we are exiting. We have realized that our lifetime value for a client in France will never, ever come to the level of the other countries. We'll make it profitable if you look at the lifetime value on a 5-year or 10-year perspective, and the CAC, the customer acquisition cost, is fine. But we'll never be able to get the scale of that market, and then we don't want to have it as a focus. So we have unfortunately taken the decision to exit the market.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. And when talking about introducing new features, you might say, I would prefer to launch it on a specific market to test it with on a national level before bringing it to your other countries?
No, we try to do all countries at the same time.
Oh, wow, that's very courageous.
How we usually try to do it. And then we always get into, of course, some nitty-gritty things we do. That is different legislation in different markets that we need to adopt and then, of course, respect. But we try to do all markets at the same time.
Very good. Wow, that's very impressive. Thank you, Nishant. Benjamin, I want you to know more because you're a more recent, younger company, right?
True.
So I want to hear from you about your go-to-market strategy and how do you measure the initial success of your product over a specific market? I'm all ears, Benjamin.
Thanks. I think it's a very good question. I mean, what I said is like, what we are aiming is enable highly talented SMBs to grow, right? And we are here to partner with them to support that growth. And why we decided to do that is because they also hit, like here, they are able to, all these people here, they are able to serve the entire market. And that's their focus, is serve the entire market or the most people on the market. What we look is for talented SMBs that want to grow. And to do that, how we do it is like, how can we bring value to them? And SMBs, they are like startups. They have a limited amount of resources. So every morning when they woke up, they need to decide, okay, what will be my fight today? Would it be fighting with my bank? Will it be fighting with my provider? Will it be selling? And if they want to grow, they better sell. So what we do is we use, of course, the data, right, for I would say, taking our decision, like any banks will do that. But then we also use that data to give rich analytics and AI-driven insight to our dealers, to our customers, right? And to the point of my colleague over there, right, I think that they are using the data to take decision, and they say like, one of the joke is when someone, I know that someone is pregnant before this person knows.
Yes, yes.
What we do is we use that information to say, hey, maybe you should consider to buy a bed for your kid, for your future kid. And like that, the SMB can take decision on their businesses. And therefore, we help them to manage their inventories, rotation, stuff like that. So we don't only use the financial data for our internal purpose, credit risk mitigation, all the good things related to regulatory reporting. We also use it to bring insight to the customer, so customer can take better decision. So the customer is taking back the ownership of his data and creating something valuable out of it, instead of like, there is no bank that is providing that to people as of today. So that's what we do. And I think to your question on what is the KPIs,
sure.
So I would say, like any platform or application, right, customer engagement is key, right? Nevertheless, that's not how we monitor our success. The way we monitor our success is by how much we are able to increase the revenue or profit of our customer. And
Very good.
If we do that,
yes,
it means that we achieved our mission that is bringing more value than just financial services, credit line to our customer. That's how we do it.
That's a very good point, Benjamin. Very, very, very nice. As we have a few minutes left, gentlemen, I cannot resist to ask you about the European framework, which is going to evolve quite significantly in the coming years with PSD3, which is now in its final stage, going to be implemented somewhere next year. We know that it's going to be the stable environment for the next legislation, so at least for 4 or 5 years, which is good news in itself. We have instant payment regulation. How do you see the European framework in general? Are all those new harmonized framework good news, or still not good enough? Josy, I start with you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would say, are they all harmonized or not? I think, let's start there. I think the second biggest issue is the temporality, right? I mean, there are a lot of good initiatives coming up, but the policy process takes, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And is that matching the need, the growth need that we currently need in the European Union? I think there's a slight mismatch. So, let's speed that up. Let's tackle the fragmentation, but also let's please think about a way, again, as I said, of having rules that are outcomes-based, that balance that consumer protection and that innovation aspect. Because otherwise, I feel we're going to lose the race to some other markets where innovation is number one.
Very good. Yeah, I saw there was a quite positive press statement from Klarna on the evolution of open finance. Do you have fears on that end that open finance might not go to the expected openness that we had?
I think, I mean, specifically on open finance, I think there's a lot of nervousness from a lot of involved players and industries, and I think there's some very strong, lobbies coming from everywhere. So we should probably, resist that temptation to go back to the old way of thinking. But before open finance, let's first fix open banking.
There's a lot to fix for sure. Nishant, just a few of 30 seconds on that.
No, I can just echo what Josy said. I think we need more harmonization. I don't see that. I also see our regulations implemented very differently in the various countries, especially on the consumer protection side. So that I would wish for, and I think we need to deregulate a bit to make Europe competitive again, that's for sure. When it comes to the pure banking regulation, I mean, the two of us being banks, maybe that's a bit cynical, but I also see an extreme positive side of that, because for our business, the way that we are regulated and we are a bank, it also creates a big entry of barriers. And the more complex, the more harsh it gets to implement it, the higher entry of barriers. So there's another side of that coin as well.
Very good point. Samuele, on your side, happy, not happy about the coming regulations?
I mean, I see things are moving, but the fragmentation part is a real structural problem here in Europe. And we need to solve that, because this is killing innovation. Because, I mean, if we need to understand the way of thinking on 27 different countries in order to make my startup successful, is never going to happen. And then always the same player in the same country. There are maybe services that are easy to spread, others require a lot of effort. So to me, this is the structural thing we should work.
Very good. Benjamin, conclusion will be for you. You are over the US, over the Europe, some good, bad points in comparison?
I would say the harmonization of the regulation is good, right? The two main issues are lack of visibility in terms of stability. There is too much evolution that are coming on too much frequency, right? And then what is missing is, I would say, harmonized transposition, right? Because you have EU law, but then each country transpose that into a different way in its country, and that's from where the complexity is coming.
Very good. Gentlemen, you are fantastic panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you for our listeners, and see you soon. Other stages, other conferences. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.